Alright, how to make a cylinder. Once you have your clay centered and coned up and compressed down, then you want your wheel at about the medium speed. And make sure your hands are wet. Put them on the side. Remember, really tuck your hands in towards your stomach. Use your core. The way that I like going about opening up the clay is by keeping my left hand here and putting my finger down. Make sure that you have enough water, otherwise it's going to resist that. I'm just pushing my fingers down, trying to keep my hands as centered as possible. If it looks a little bit off center, then you can kind of collar it in again. Try to recenter. And I really want to make sure that this hand and this hand are both staying straight. Alright. We're going to turn off the wheel and check your base. Use your needle tool. Stick your finger in. So I'm going to put my finger here at the very base of the clay, and then how far this goes in to touch the bottom or the metal wheel will determine the thickness of my base. So that's the thickness of my base right there, okay? This is where my finger is touching the bottom of the clay. We want it to be about thumb thickness, so this is about a good thickness. Alright, my hand's wet again. And you can open up your clay. Make sure that you're keeping your hands as perpendicular to the base as possible, and pull that open to create your bottom. I can feel I've got a little bit of a bump in my clay here, because I'm using recycled clay. So you're just going to have to kind of work with it if you feel that. Kind of work around it. And you might have to give a little bit more pressure in some of those areas to ensure that there's no air bubbles, like I have right here. Okay. Then I'm going to collar this, really using these fleshy parts of my hand to push in to make more into a cylinder, right? And I'm really using my core and this part to get that cylindrical shape. Just gonna kind of clean that up. Okay, now you've got a lot of clay at the bottom here and you want to lift that up. I want to lift it from here to about here because the tip is a little bit easier to thin out, whereas it's a lot harder to bring the clay from the bottom up. So I'm going to take my fingers like so on the outside, and you want to create that little bit of a shelf. And on the inside I'm going to put my whole hand with my thumb kind of tucked in like this. And I'm going to pull up slowly. It's natural for the clay to want to come out like a bowl, and so going back in, collaring like this, will help bring that back in. Be cognizant of your right hand, that you're not pushing it out as you're bringing your hand up. We're going to do that again. I'm really pushing. But with steady firmness. All the way up. Move real slow. That's, I think, one of the biggest keys, is moving slow. So I'm letting go at that tip I'm gonna get back to that later. You don't want it to be too heavy. And slowly lifting up. Sometimes you'll see this little band like so. Hit lift up with the clay. I need some more water on my hands. Okay. All right, so you can see that it's slowly starting to get lifted up, right? Again, I'm gonna use my hands and just go up very slowly, like the giant drop. Remember how you wanna really start very, very slow. It's kind of that like almost suspense. I still have a lot of clay at the bottom here, so I'm going to, again, really push in. And then slowly lift up. My bottom is getting a little bit thinner now. I can check that. I'm just gonna give a little bit more attention on the bottom here. All right, and now you can see this is bowing out a little bit. You want this to come in. Just bring your hands over, like so. And then I want to thin out my tip. So this is where you can flare it out by bringing your hands outwards, as you can see there. Just slowly bring that back in. Remember, do everything real slow. I kind of moved a little quickly right there, and that's why it looked a little bit, boop, a little bit off. Now I've got this weird kind of goblet thing. I don't like that look, so I'm gonna just open my hand, open my clay. So again, this is for you to experiment with how you want to open up your clay and change the shape of it. If you want to change the shape of it, make sure that you're just doing it real slow, real deliberately. Starting from the bottom up. See how I'm kind of bringing my clay in that way, so that it just moved it from that really wide open shape. Again, you can do that because you're slowly moving the direction of your hands. Remember that you want it to be at least 5 inches. This is about 6 inches tall right now. And when you're done, you can cut it off the wheel, pull it off. Wish you all the best of luck.